NFL fans, you want some more professional football content from Chat Sports? Well, you've come to the right place. Here's what I need, folks. If you would like to be a part of our daily news and rumors, the live shows we bring you in addition to all the latest happenings across the National Football League, let the bosses know. Let's get at least 20 subs off of today's video. Best part about it, 100% free, doesn't cost you a thing. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV to subscribe now, and we'll get started with this edition of NFL Daily. Welcome in to NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Scary Terry McLaurin. He could be on the way out of Washington. And on today's show, we're going to break down the top 5 potential trade destinations for Terry McLaurin's services. McLaurin has had a very good career with the Washington Commanders. And this was kind of the first year that he was a part of a decent football team of sorts. And we saw a fantastic year, maybe his best year yet, with a very good quarterback in Jaden Daniels and a strong team around him. But now he finds himself in the midst of a contract situation, and the Commanders have been playing hardball on getting a new deal done. So if something doesn't happen anytime soon, could he potentially be on the way out? Let's provide some context here for you. This was a while back from Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports, who tweeted, sources, #Commanders All-Pro wide receiver Terry McLaurin has made it clear to the team that he's frustrated with the lack of progress on a long-term deal. As I previously reported, McLaurin unexpectedly left voluntary workouts after initially attending, and it remains to be seen whether he'll report for mandatory minicamp. McLaurin is entering the final year of his contract. Talks have been minimal. So that was back on June 5th. Well, now here we are. We're a couple weeks away from training camp. And for the Commanders, that begins on July 22nd. Now, typically, things have changed in the NFL where we don't see the traditional holdout anymore. We see a hold-in more times than not, where a player will still show up. That way he is not marked absent and doesn't get fined, but does not participate in the activities. So to kind of give some perspective here, in theory, if there's not a deal done by the time training camp starts, Terry McLaurin could still show up in theory, but still be holding in until he gets the deal done. That's certainly possible. Now, we showed you that report from Schultz back in early June, and the recent reporting has been that there is no new progress on a deal between the Commanders and Terry McLaurin. So the possibility of him being traded now is as possible as it's ever been before. We very well could get to a circumstance where something gets done, where he ends up staying and gets paid and is the Commander for many years to come. But it's more likely now that he gets traded than what it has been in the past. Clock is starting to tick, though, as we're getting closer and closer to training camp beginning for Washington. So if he were to hit the trade market, what exactly could another team potentially be getting here? Let's tell you more about Scary Terry. He's still very young, a 2019 third-round pick out of the Ohio State. And last year, for the first time in his career, he was named an All-Pro, a second-team All-Pro, along with his second Pro Bowl appearance. He also had one back in 2022 as well. The thing I like about Terry McLaurin more than anything else is the consistency that he's done year in and year out. The Commanders have been such a mess. The quarterbacks that he's had to play with before Jaden Daniels showed up. We're talking about guys like Taylor Heineke, Sam Howell. What in the Sam Howell? Among others here, Jacoby Brissett. It has not been ideal for what Terry McLaurin has had to deal with. And whether it was bad quarterback play or with a very good quarterback in Jaden Daniels, he has been one of the few bright spots, one of the few constants for the Washington Commanders over the last few seasons. You look at these numbers here. Back in 2021, over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. Back that up in 2022 with close to 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. 2023, another 1,000-yard season with 4 touchdowns. And then last year, the best that we've seen in his young career at this point, 82 catches, nearly 1,100 yards, 13.4 yards of reception, and 13 total touchdowns, way up from those previous years, more than 2023 and in 2022 combined. And in life, there is nothing guaranteed. But if there's one thing that is as close to a sure thing as possible of being a success, no matter where you put him, I think it's Terry McLaurin based on his track record of what he's shown. Now, whether it's the Commanders or another team, he's not going to come cheap. And when you talk about if you're to trade for him, you got to give up assets, probably at least a first-round pick and more. But his contract is looking like about a 3-year, $94.5 million deal is what the folks at the Draft Network are projecting. And I think personally he's worth every penny of that, of the caliber receiver that you're getting, a guy that's reliable, that you can depend on, that can work in any system. I would gladly take Terry McLaurin on my team any day. We'll go over the list of trade destinations for Scary Terry in a moment, but we want you guys to put your GM hat on. Let us know. Will the Commanders trade Terry McLaurin? Type T for trade, P for pass. It's our pinned comment today. Let us know which way you lean towards. Got NFL jerseys on sale now. Chatsports.com/NFL jerseys, where you can get yours now. All sorts of different players from a variety of different teams across the National Football League. Men's, women's, and kids' sizes. You can go see for yourself now. We also have other NFL jerseys and a number of merchandise at that same link, chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get yours today. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. That's chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get yours now. Top trade destinations for Scary Terry. Let's begin with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have been in the wide receiver market for a while. There's been rumblings about Terry McLaurin in the past. They were very interested in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. They did trade for DK Metcalf, but then they moved on from George Pickens, and now they don't really have a number 2 receiver at this point. You did bring in Jonnu Smith, and that'll be a nice pairing there, with Aaron Rodgers and company, your new quarterback who you brought in. You got Freiermuth there. You bring in Terry McLaurin, pair him up with DK Metcalf. Then we're talking about the Steelers really meaning business here at the skill positions. The San Francisco 49ers, who had a trade with the Washington Commanders earlier this offseason involving Deebo Samuel here. Well, they're looking for some receiver help, and Brandon Ayuk is coming off a down year. Ricky Pearsall is still very young at this point. And to put it simply, Brock Purdy, I think he's a good quarterback, but he's not a franchise quarterback. He needs all the weapons he can possibly get. The New York Jets, another team that's kind of just searching for answers at this point. Justin Fields is their new starting quarterback. You lost Devontae Adams. Maybe you bring him in and pair him up with Garrett Wilson, and then you got some stud young receivers potentially to help out Justin Fields in that New York Jets offense. How about the New England Patriots? They made the signing for Stephon Diggs, but recent reporting indicates they're not too happy with Stephon Diggs these days. And it's unknown if Diggs is going to be healthy in time for the start of the season. So with that in mind, if you're New England, do you want to just roll with what you got, or would you be better off bringing in a star player like McLaurin, and then when Diggs gets back, then you got a pretty good 1-2 punch on that front? That could make a lot of sense for New England. Last on this list, we'll go with the Buffalo Bills. We've heard Brandon Beane, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, state that, hey, we are not going to prioritize the receiver position for Josh Allen, similar to what Tom Brady dealt with in New England. They've said that in the past. And you look at their receivers with Shakir, among others, Coleman. They brought in Joshua Palmer. They're good, but not great. And if you bring in Terry McLaurin, think about this. It's an arms race in the AFC. You're trying to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. You add in Terry McLaurin all of a sudden, and you jump up very high in that arms race, potentially to the top of the AFC with that type of move. What team will Terry McLaurin play for this season? Predict that team for me of where you think he is ultimately going to end up. Maybe he stays in Washington potentially. Weigh in, let us know. For more NFL content, subscribe now to Chat Sports, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.